Abusuo mo kwa bado ba daily update TV so na na wo hwe dwuma de na no subscribe share na like and fa comment section ni nyina ye na parliament Hẹсияқты ye declare one thing go change my parliament ka e be like o ma suppose some of the MPs their fellow MPs in parliament nti enko tie debate e course wo emrahye bedwafie NDC majority no they insist Hẹсияқты must what brought deport to Ghana to face prosecution. And they stand firm on that decision of what OSP, but or more than overpower the what the NDC, the MPP minority. God bless you.
Country, we call upon our former finance minister to do the needful and come back to Ghana and do the needful. This is about public money. It's not personal money. It's not about the law. The security agencies went to the house lawfully. What we should be looking at is that we should inquire as a house whether they have search warrant to go to Honorable Hẹშეიძლ's home. What we should be looking at is that we should inquire as a house whether they have search warrant to go to Honorable Hẹৰীষ্ট's home. It's not about wearing white dresses. So nobody is above the law. When you hold public office, you need to be what? Accountable. The day of accountability have arrived. We were in this country. John Jinapo's home was raided. Former Attorney General's home was raided by the military people. Members were invaded in this chamber. At that time, we don't have the locus to say and condemn it. Today we have the moral temerity, the audacity to say that it is wrong. You have the moral ground to talk. You didn't know the day of reckoning will come today. Here we are. Now here, karma. This is what we call karma. Karma is real. Those days where even members of parliament are being chased. They can prevented. They can't even do the due duties. Here we are. So all that I want to say is that Ken Ofori is not above the law. He should submit himself. He should stop running away. He's out of the country. Please call upon him to come back to the country. He shouldn't run behind excuse of medical condition and he will not come. He is fit for purpose, and then we are waiting cautiously, we are waiting patiently for Honorable Ken Ofori to arrive in this country to submit himself to the authority for the needful to do. Why? What are you running away from? What are you running away from? Cathedral, 58 million Ghana cedis was sunk. Dollars, $28 million. $58 million. Which can build Kesi, can build a lot of road. It can build Kesi. Is it not true? OPK, is it not true? It can build hospitals. It can build markets. It can do a lot of roads. The agenda 111 buildings would have finished.
Conclude.
And what are we talking about?
Conclude.
What the SML? Is it not true? Is it not true? Yes. The biggest hole ever Ghana have actually constructed. So nobody is chasing former minister for him. He is supposed to submit himself, and he is not above the law. Mr. Speaker, on this juncture, he swore an oath to protect the public purse. And now the day of accountability is here. So he should just commit himself. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity.
Now, leadership of the House.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make my comments on this matter. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Ken Ofori, a former Minister of Finance and a former presidential envoy, has contributed to nation building. This House, Mr. Speaker, had to wait because he indicated he was unwell and seeking for medical treatment outside. Mr. Speaker, in fact, when he even came, he was the only minister that his vetting took 2 days. And in between, this House indulged him to enable him take some break, to enable him proceed with his vetting. Eventually, he left government as a cabinet minister. And, Mr. Speaker, for the records, on the 2nd of January 2025, he wrote to the then Chief of Staff that he needed to travel to Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, USA, for some medical procedure. Mr. Speaker, after President Mahama had taken office, he again wrote to the current Chief of Staff in a letter dated the 22nd of January 2025, indicating that he would again be absent from Ghana for the same purpose. Mr. Speaker, in fact, in the said letter to the Chief of Staff, he attached a letter from the hospital that he was seeking treatment. Mr. Speaker, indeed, the OSP wrote to him on the 24th of January. In fact, this is the first letter that he received from the OSP. Mr. Speaker, in the said letter, Mr. Ofori instructed his lawyers to respond to let the OSP know that indeed he was out of the jurisdiction seeking medical treatment. Mr. Speaker, what happened yesterday by state security operatives must be condemned by all of us. Honorable John Jinapor has narrated his own ordeal, but the records of this House will confirm that when that happened, Right Honorable Speaker Okwe condemned that act. If indeed something had happened yesterday, it does not mean that we should continue today. Mr. Speaker, I have heard human rights activists, respected lawyers for that matter, quote Article 18 of the Constitution to say that that is not applicable in this case. Mr. Speaker, I beg to submit that that was a wrong appreciation of the law. Military men led by Mr. Richard Jakpa unlawfully entered the premises of Mr. Ofori, searched his rooms.
Honorable Minority Leader, the unlawful entry is by your own determination.
Mr. Speaker, you know that by virtue of wedding names. But Mr. Speaker, when inquiry was made, Mr. Speaker, when inquiry was made, it was our democracy is still young. Today it is Ofori, tomorrow it will be another person. Some of our colleagues should not forget that only yesterday it took the intervention of certain prominent members of our side to ensure that they were not mistreated. We will not mention names. They know. So these should be the voices of reason on this occasion. Some members worked in the night to ensure that people, members of the political class who are members of this House, were not mistreated. Mr. Speaker, let me remind colleagues, today, if you are praising the OSP, let's not forget that not too long ago, we had some of our members at the receiving end by the OSP. Don't let us also forget that even the president himself became a subject matter of OSP investigation. And he was not happy with certain words used by the OSP against him. So don't let us celebrate. Don't let us celebrate because today it is Ken Oforiatta. Mr. Speaker, all manner of things are being said that Ken has done this, has done that, has done that. I listened to my colleague from Keta, and I listened to my respected colleague from Bogatanga Central, enumerating what to him amount to offenses. And they also argued again that the man has not been tried, therefore there cannot be any human rights abuse. Mr. Speaker, if you invade somebody's home and raid his home, Article 18 of the Constitution protect that person, except when you are doing so lawfully. On this occasion, there was no such law. There was no such law supporting their actions. So they shouldn't be here happy with it. These 4 years will soon come. No, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, I think the honorable member's order, that response was in respect of the allegation of breach of natural justice. And you and I are very much aware that natural justice is in two main ways: the Odi Atram pattern and Nemo Judas in Kansaswa. But actually not in respect of the Constitution. The statement states there was a breach of natural justice.
State security operatives, rather unlawfully. And I dare contend that that conduct was unconstitutional. That is my respectful submission, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have done a lot of follow-ups on this matter, and I regret to say that we are not sending the right signal to our electorate. Mr. Speaker, the man has put the state on notice of his absence from the jurisdiction. He has made available his medical records coming from a respected medical facility. Mr. Speaker, today, I repeat, if our friends think that it is another person, so it is okay, and they are describing Ken Oforiatta in all manner of forms, let me remind them that none can ever rule this country with perfection. The man, Mr. Speaker, at the risk of being repetitive, Honorable Stephen Amwa was clear in his language of submission that indeed the successful implementation of the free SHS was led by Ken Oforiatta as a finance minister. He made sure that he rolled out all important policy of government. Mr. Speaker, if you have any issue, follow due process of law. It is not enough for national security to raid his home. It is not enough to carry armed military men to his residence to terrorize his children and by extension his neighbors. Mr. Speaker, we must, as a house, be united with one voice to condemn this act. Today is Ken Oforiatta. Next will be other appointees. Mr. Speaker, we must not allow this. Mr. Speaker, only yesterday we saw the Attorney General applying to the court
certain cases. That is within his right as an Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, what signal are we sending to the nation that, oh, if it is NDC and NDC is in power, it is right. If it is MPP and if it's MPP in power, it is right. Mr. Speaker, the political class of this country must rise above this. The political class of this country